Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from a deleted user from the Entitled People subreddit, and it says, I should have sacrificed myself for her. So, I'm not entirely sure if this qualifies as an entitled parent or just someone who's mentally insane, but this just happened a few hours ago. So here it goes. I, 29 male, work for a small hardware store in my city. I'm about 6'2", chubby, but still muscular from all the heavy lifting I do for work. Early this morning, me and we will call her Nancy, 49 female, were at the store before opening to do inventory. It was about an hour before opening, and Nancy went outside to grab something from her car. She came back in a few minutes later at gunpoint, with someone walking behind her. I've never been involved in any kind of robbery before, aside from minor shoplifting attempts, so I froze in place. The gunman pointed it at me, telling me to keep my hands visible and to follow them. Nancy was technically the opening manager and therefore had keys to the store and vault in the back office, so he held me up while she emptied it. He was gone in about 10 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. Our store doesn't have any kind of silent alarm, so once we were sure he was gone, I went and called 911. After I get off the phone, Nancy comes up to me and asks, word for word, what the fuck is wrong with you? I stared at her completely caught off guard and asked her what she was talking about. She proceeds to rant at me up until the police arrive. To sum up her rant, she basically said I was a pathetic excuse of a man for not protecting a single mother when she was in danger. I asked her what she expected me to do in that situation. She expected me to try and get the gun away from him so he couldn't hurt her. It was around that point that the police arrived to take our statements and ensure we're okay. My actual boss is on vacation this week, but has given me the next 2 days off, paid. I love this guy, to recover from the shock of the situation and to call him if I need anything. I haven't told him about Nancy's rant yet. I'm still trying to process everything she said to me. Edit, sorry, still new to posting. Wasn't sure if this info is relevant or not. Nancy is divorced and her son is a 19-year-old college student who doesn't live with her. During her rant, she kept going on about who would watch my baby if I died? Stuff like that. I'm hoping it was just adrenaline from the robbery, but if the next time I see her she's still acting that way, I'll report her. Edit 2, I greatly appreciate the comments people have sent. I didn't think I'd get many replies. There have been some comments claiming Nancy was in on it. She seemed genuinely terrified, so I doubt she was, but now I can't get that thought out of my head. Nancy is just not thinking logically, is she? I mean, anything you would have done in that situation, it could have gone horribly wrong. And I think most places say hand over the money, etc. Don't try to be the hero in these situations. And Nancy may have just been totally in shock, and that's why she reacted the way it did. It doesn't make it any fairer to you, don't get me wrong. But my name says hopefully Nancy was just freaking out because of the incident. When she has time to process, she'll see what a ridiculous request that was. If not, she has to quit watching superhero movies. Another commenter says, if she says anything again, say, you would have liked me to try and get the gun so we could both have been shot. I guess I was smart enough to know both of our lives are worth more than the amount of money in the store. And your baby isn't that much younger than me. If he were in this situation, would you like him to have tried getting the gun away? Or would you have just said, give the thief the money? Absolutely, hold that mirror up to her face. Me Folly says, I've had jobs where the robbery response training was, give it to them. Stuff is stuff. No stuff is worth your life. You did exactly right. You did not escalate the situation. You did not startle the robber, which might have made him injure someone in response. You stayed calm. Well done you. Brio Mio says, I would ask Nancy what the hell was so damn important in your car that you had to leave the locked premises, thereby allowing this individual with a gun entry into the store. Wild on the Frontier replies to that saying, could we think possibly she was in on it? A guy with a gun just happens to be waiting outside the store an hour before it opens for the opportunity someone may come outside. The whole tirade could have been a diversion. I watch too many crime shows. So OP came in with their first update and said, hey everyone, not sure if this is how you do an update, but here goes. I just wanted to start by thanking everyone for the kind words and advice I was given. It was definitely the scariest moment of my life, and I've decided I'm going to look into potential therapy. Before the actual update, I just wanted to explain a few things based on some comments I saw in my original post. One, the hardware store I work for is small, just in the physical sense. It's still technically one of the big name hardware stores in the US, just not warehouse size like the ones with the orange and blue logos. 2. When I said that Nancy had emptied the vault, I wasn't referring to an actual safe or lockbox. The vault in our store refers to a small, double-locked room where they store the money orders the store receives from the big armored trucks. 3. Nancy actually is the HR manager for our store because the store manager was out of town for that week. She was the acting store manager along with one other person who was off that day. My actual store manager, Nancy, and the third associate are the only ones with keys to the vault. Now for the update. To be honest, I'm not sure if I'm more angry or scared right now, but I got off the phone with my store manager half an hour ago. He was reviewing the security camera footage that was sent to him from his hotel room. I know the store had cameras. What I didn't know is that we have cameras that face the parking lot. Some of you mentioned it in the comments, so you may not be surprised to hear that Nancy has been arrested for assisting in robbing the store. I can't go into extreme detail, but according to my boss, the gunman was seen exiting Nancy's car when she went outside. They spoke for a bit before walking back up to the store. I don't know much else aside from that the guy was her new boyfriend. I'm feeling so many different emotions right now. Confusion, anger, fear, etc. She traumatized someone 20 years younger than he for a few $1,000s. I don't know if she was chewing me out about the single mother thing because she hoped I would have done something to warrant getting shot over. All I know is that this woman who originally did my hiring interview is mentally insane. As I said, I think I'm going to look into therapy for this. It's just too much for me to process alone. My boss has offered me additional leave of absence if needed as well. So for now I'm going to take some time off, and if I can get any more info I can share, I'll further update you. Then OP came in with what they titled their final update and said, "Hey everyone, I didn't think I'd be posting again this soon, but it sounds like things are being handled outside of court. So I should be in the clear. I'm not sure if there's going to be much more of a resolution than this, but if more happens, I'll update you all further." Before I begin, I just want to say that I'm doing okay for the most part. I had my first therapy session 2 days ago and she seems like a good one, so I'm going to stick with her for now. I told her about my Reddit post and she thinks that as long as I'm not giving out real names or anything, it could be very therapeutic to discuss what happened to me with others. Now for the update. Nancy's boyfriend is in prison for numerous charges, not contained solely to the robbery. That's the easiest part of this to explain. The rest gets weird. A week ago I was asked to meet with Nancy and her attorney as she wanted to speak with me. I refused because I'm not at a point where I'm willing to speak with her, let alone look at her. 2 days later, my company rep told me he had an email from Nancy meant for me. He reviewed it and agreed to pass it along to me if I wanted to read it. Against my better judgment, I said yes, and wow, it got crazy. The email was a letter of apology to me. Nancy's boyfriend was an incredibly abusive drug user who had her too afraid of him to leave her or call the police. The robbery was his idea and she was forced to go along with it under the threat of being unalived. She then apologized for a rant to me, claiming it was because in her mind she believed I would have stepped in to save her somehow, and when I didn't, she had a bit of a mental breakdown. There was more to the letter, but those are really the main takeaways. I contacted my rep back telling him to reply that I appreciated her apology and I'm sorry for what she went through, but that I will never forgive her for putting me through that and to never contact me again when all is said and done. The last I heard, she is taking a plea deal. That's really all I have to give you all. I appreciate all your helpful comments and will continue to answer questions you may have. I'm still in a messed up place mentally, but I'm getting the help I need. Thank you all again and be safe out there. Edit, just wanted to throw this in there because I think there is some confusion. There's no longer a trial. I'm not a witness anymore, nor will anyone be testifying. This is all being settled outside of court. As for Nancy, I do believe her apology was sincere. There was additional info revealed via my company rep, and the letter that shows the abuse she was suffering was real. But I won't go into specifics out of respect for a victim. And there was a whole mix of comments after this one. Some people were saying the only thing she is sorry for is that she got caught. Other people saying you can accept the apology, but you'll never owe anyone forgiveness. Other people not believing that email one little bit. Some people even suggesting that she was probably hoping that OP got the gunning and ended the boyfriend to get her out of that situation. But gee whiz, if the initial situation wasn't scary enough, all the mind fuckery that happened afterwards is just madness, isn't it? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And seeing as we're in the Entitled People subreddit, we'll stay here for the time being from Ramen Noodles 620 with entitled Uncle Wants Me to Fund and Co-Sign on a Loan for a Home. In a lifetime of entitled behavior from my aunts and uncles, this one may take the cake. One of my uncles, Travis, is looking to buy a home. He mentioned this to me a couple of weeks ago and was asking about the process. I suggested that he and his family get their funds together sooner than later. By this, I meant getting the money he is owed by my other two uncles, Randy and George. Figured they may have some other questions once they get more in the process and did not think any more on it. For background, Randy and George owed Travis money because Travis gave them money as a down payment on a house they were all supposed to own together. Travis and Randy's family were supposed to live there, which they did for a time. Travis's family moved out due to size limitations, but were apparently paying rent there. Why it made sense to them to pay rent while having already put a down payment in and being supposedly co-owners, I don't know. I told Travis when this all happened that he should be careful and make sure he is covered legally. He did not do that. Once he moved out, Randy and George rented out the now vacant second unit. Randy pretty much lives for free, while George didn't have to put any money in to get ownership of a house. Randy and George were supposed to pay Travis back for his down payment. It's been 4 up to 5 years since then. The other night, Travis called me. Starts off with small talk and then eventually mentions buying a home again. So I ask if he has some kind of question about it for me. He says he does, and he wants to know if I would sign on as support on the loan and help with the down payment. So co-signing and providing a down payment for a home I have no interest in buying or managing with someone. Travis said he spoke to Randy and George about getting his money. They told him they needed some time, but to talk to me about providing support for the loan in the meantime. Thought I heard wrong, so I asked him to confirm for me that instead of getting money from his brothers that owed him, he was once again listening to their advice by coming to me to co-sign on a loan and give him money for a house. Told him no, this is not something I want to do, and I had to go before hanging up. Could not believe the damn gall to even ask this. Just reinforces why I continue to keep my distance with certain family members. I know it's not the main point of the story, but I always think about that initial approach where they're coming up to you and ask you to sign on supporting buying a house with them. I'm just like, where'd you get the balls to do that? It makes it sound like it's so casual, like he was lending him £20 or something. But Sweeper of Chimney says that's a good example of why I won't do business with family. Unbelievable that you were asked to fund his house simply because he won't get his finances and legal situation with the other house in order. He pops his head out and gets a good lawyer. Solomon says, so to sum up, your brothers told you to give them money so they could buy a house to share, then rented out your room and kept all the money. Now they want you to do the same thing to me. Why don't they give you the money they made renting your room out for the past few years? One more comment which says, holy crap, this isn't entitlement. This is borderline stupidity. They've got him so bad. He doesn't know that they're yanking his chain around and making him think it's okay to ask others. Your only advice to Travis is to talk to them and put his foot down. Get his money back ASAP. Also the fact that Travis paid rent, it shows that they've used him to pay the mortgage and was hoping to do so. But once he moved out, they can't afford it and are sticking it to the new renter. You're going to have to sit poor Travis down and let him know he needs to be firm and get his down payment from them. So OP came in with her update and started with a brief summary saying, Uncle called me to ask to co-sign on a loan for a house he wants to buy. He's coming to me instead of getting the money from his brothers who actually owe him money. He wants a house to have more space for his family because his kids are getting married. In our culture, multi-generational homes are normal. I, of course, said no. Update. Visited my mum yesterday so she could go trick-or-treating with us. Got some more information from her about this that actually made me laugh out loud at how ridiculous, entitled, and delusional this ask is. Not only did they ask me to co-sign on a loan, they also asked my dad to help fund the down payment. Fairly certain that by help, they mean pay for the entire down payment. My dad said no. My uncle apparently can get a loan, but it's not enough for what they want. What they want is a 2-family home relatively close to the city we live near. They do not want to go too far, which is what they would have to do based on the loan he can get, and they only want a multi-family home so they can rent out 1 unit. Their grand idea is for my dad to pay the down payment, me co-sign so they can get a more expensive home, rent out 1 unit of the house to pay for the mortgage, and they will pay my dad back as they can. They could not even suggest that the rental income will go straight to my dad. They went from going to the people who actually owe them money to asking my dad and I to buy them a home. My relatives have a history of entitlement, but this one has gone beyond anything they've done before. I'm still flabbergasted that they thought they could even ask this of me and my dad. Yep, my flabbers are absolutely gasted as well. Absolute wild levels of entitlement. Were they expecting you not to talk to your dad about money coming from 2 different directions as well? I was surprised by the comments below this update about people, the absolute entitlement from people. Over Marion says, sounds like my little sister. She actually showed up at my house with loan documents with my name on it and told me to sign them. This was less than a year after my husband and I bought our home. Laughed her ass out of my house and went very low contact with her. Strong Purchase said something similar. They said my brother-in-law asked me to loan him money to buy a house. I said fuck off. 2 weeks later, asked me to buy a house and let him stay there. I again said get lost. 2 weeks later, asked me to sign surety so he could get a loan from the bank. This is all after he owed me money for 2 years. Absolute wild levels of entitlement. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let's have one more from the Entitled People subreddit. I forgot how much I enjoy these ones. This one's from another deleted user, and it's titled, Told Someone Not to Touch My Dog. He and his family give me verbal abuse as a result. Went out, dog is partially sighted and a bit of a jumper, as his vision has got worse. Went to get a coffee with her on a short lead. Guy in the queue, an older gentleman, sneaks past me and sticks a hand in my animal's face and begins touching her from behind, and she backs right up. Didn't even introduce himself or ask. I notice, and knowing my dog has been jumpy, ask him not to. I get accused of being rude and hostile. His relative on the other side of me then grabs my jacket and tells me it's fine because he loves animals so much. I explain that's fine, but that doesn't mean he can do that. My dog is partly sighted and can be startled. I didn't want to risk her being alarmed and maybe snapping if she felt threatened, as that's a very different conversation. He just repeated, but he loves dogs. And after 3 of these loops I asked him to please let go of my clothes. I am then told I am mentally ill, and that since he's the regular, I should take my drink and fuck right off. I tell him this is rude. He escalates it to a manager, and the family just talked over me for several minutes until the manager, who knows me as a regular, comes to talk to me after. They accused me of being rude, but I explained I tried to explain myself and they wouldn't listen, then swore at and verbally abused me. Them being regulars like myself isn't an excuse. This turned into a back and forth and they apologized to the manager for their behavior, but not me. Sometimes I wonder if people like this actually think. I wouldn't assume all dogs want to be touched, and I wonder if they'd just go pick someone else's kid up. If they wouldn't, then why would they go mother something else which has a toothy bear trap in the front? How entitled does one have to be to disregard the pet owner and go pester an animal? I might love elephants, but that doesn't mean I'll climb into an enclosure and to go pet them, yeah? I also wouldn't give a zookeeper shit for that. It's really not difficult to ask an owner if it's okay to say hello to their pet, is it? And then approach them in the correct way from the front and carefully. Bit of a different scenario, but to do with Poppy, my dog, who's a very nervous dog, doesn't like other dogs, loves people. But whenever you're walking her, there's people that try to get their dogs to go up to her, and they don't ask or anything like that. So you have to say, look, she's a nervous dog, she doesn't like other dogs approaching her, etc. But then they turn it around and go, oh, but my dog's so friendly. It's like, oh, dearie me, just bloody listen. But there's so many people like that, and people that have their dogs off the lead as well, and they just let them run wild, and they have no recall or anything. Oh, it does my head in. But what do you guys make of this situation? Love a little bit of entitled people. I forgot about this. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.